You know those families where one kid is the star and the other one is just there? I was the just there, not the disaster child, not the favourite, just invisible. And this is the story of how I went from riding a rusty bicycle to making the people who ignored me stand frozen on the doorstep of the house I bought out from under them. I was 14 the first time it really sank in. I was invisible in my own family. It wasn't a single moment. It was a slow ache, built from years of missed birthdays, forgotten school recitals, and dinner conversations where my name never came up unless it was about chores. My parents weren't cruel, at least not in a way you could point to, but they had this way of praising my little sister Hayley like she was made of gold, while treating me like background noise. Hayley was the miracle baby, born 3 years after my mum had a miscarriage that nearly broke her. So when Hayley arrived, healthy and glowing, she became everyone's everything. She had a canopy bed with fairy lights, weekly violin lessons, and birthday parties with pony rides. I shared a room with the laundry baskets and got hand-me-down shoes that barely fit. Hand-me-downs build character, my dad used to say with a chuckle, like character was some kind of consolation prize. And I tried. God, I tried. I studied hard, kept my grades up, packed my own lunches, even helped Hayley with her homework. When Mum forgot to pick me up from soccer practice, again, I told myself, she's just tired. When they skipped my science fair for Hayley's piano showcase that she didn't even rehearse for, I smiled through it, because I thought if I just worked hard enough, stayed quiet enough, maybe they'd see me. But it didn't matter how many A's I brought home, how many times I cleared the dinner table without being asked. I was the older one, the practical one, the one who didn't need as much. At least that's what they told themselves and me, every time I dared to want something, anything, just for me. I started journaling in secret, writing out everything I couldn't say, the pages filled up with words like, "Why not me?" and "What did I do wrong?" But the tone shifted over time. I didn't notice it until later. What started as grief turned into fuel, pain into planning. And somewhere along the way, I stopped waiting to be picked. Maybe that's why I've always been drawn to revenge stories. Not the loud, explosive kind, the quiet ones, the slow burns, the ones where the underdog doesn't just fight back. They outgrow the whole damn cage. At 14, I didn't have a blueprint, but I had a feeling that this wasn't where my story ended, that one day they'd look back and realize the girl they overlooked was the one building her exit in silence. I didn't expect much that Christmas morning. To be honest, I wasn't even excited. After years of socks, mugs, and once, I kid you not, a discounted math workbook, I had adjusted my expectations to the floor. But this was the year I had something to be proud of. I'd just gotten into a solid state college with a full scholarship. I'd worked part-time at a bookstore for 2 years, straight A's, volunteer hours. I even helped Hayley with her senior project when she forgot to start until the week it was due. So, yeah, a small part of me hoped maybe this Christmas would feel different, that maybe, just maybe, I'd get to matter. When I came downstairs, Hayley was already by the window, practically bouncing. I peeked outside, sitting in the driveway, shiny, silver, wrapped in a massive red bow, was a brand new BMW. "Oh my God, no way!" Hayley shrieked like she was on a game show. Mum and Dad beamed like proud sponsors. "Come on, baby, go stand by it. Let's get a photo." I stayed by the staircase, half smiling, half hoping. Then Dad turned toward me and said the words I'd never forget. "Don't worry, Maddie, we didn't forget you." He disappeared into the garage. A few seconds later, he wheeled out a dusty old bicycle, gears squeaky, seat torn, one tire visibly flat. "You can ride this to your classes," he said. "You're practical. You don't care about flashy stuff, right?" And just like that, any last shred of hope folded into something small and quiet inside me. It wasn't just about the car, it was about what it represented. Haley got celebration, I got function, she got a symbol of success, I got transportation, she got joy, I got efficiency. You ever have one of those moments where the room keeps moving, people keep talking, but your brain just stops? That was me, standing there, nodding like a good daughter, saying thank you, when all I wanted was to scream, "I'm not invisible." Instead, I took the bike, wheeled it back into the garage, spent the rest of the day in the attic, curled up next to the circular window, watching snow collect in silence. That was the moment it changed for me. Not dramatically, not explosively, but something shifted. A quiet internal click. If I was the practical one, fine, I'd be practical, but on my terms. And one day they'd look at me not with pity, but with regret. Have you ever been handed something so painfully unfair, but forced to smile and say thank you anyway? If you've had a moment like that, I'd love to hear it in the comments. You're not alone. Really. From that attic window, I saw the world they built without me, and deep down I knew I'd build my own. One brick, one shift, one silent night at a time. You can only lie to yourself for so long. For years I told myself that maybe they just didn't realize, that maybe if I worked a little harder, was a little more helpful, a little more invisible, they'd finally notice how much I held together. But life has a cruel way of spelling things out when you're too stubborn to read the signs. I was in my second semester of college, juggling full-time classes and working nights at the campus bookstore. My schedule looked like a puzzle someone gave up on. I studied on the bus, ate instant noodles in the break room, slept 4 hours a night, 5 if I was lucky. Meanwhile, Haley had just finished high school and landed a summer internship at a fashion label. My parents threw her a brunch party, bought her a new MacBook, posted photos with captions like, "So proud of our rising star." 3 weeks in, Haley quit. "It's too stressful," she said with tears in her eyes over dinner, while I cleaned the dishes after a 10-hour shift. Mom immediately suggested she take time off to recenter. 2 days later, they booked her a month-long trip to Bali. "Everyone needs to breathe, Maddie," my mum said. "You should try meditating too." Meditating? I was calculating how many hours I had to work to cover rent and whether I could afford to replace the soles of my shoes. That's when it hit me. Not like a slap, but like a slow, sinking stone. I wasn't forgotten by accident. I wasn't overlooked because they were tired or distracted. I was never really considered part of the picture. Haley wasn't just the favourite, she had become the only child in their eyes. When I told my parents about a small scholarship I won for academic excellence, my dad glanced up from his phone and said, "That's great. Haley's thinking of starting a lifestyle blog." Mum chimed in, "You should help her with the tech side. You're good at that, right?" Not, "We're proud of you." Not, "You worked so hard." Just another task. Just another thing I could do for someone else. That night, in my tiny shared apartment with the leaky ceiling, I sat on the edge of my bed and realized I was done. Done trying, done explaining, done hoping. They had made it clear I didn't matter unless I was being useful to someone else, so I'd stop being useful to them and start building something for myself. No applause, no announcement, just quiet determination. Sometimes the people who raise you are the same people who erase you. And the hardest part? They don't even notice they've done it. I stopped calling, I stopped waiting, and I started making moves they'd never see coming. No one clapped when I got my first client. There were no balloons, no social media posts, no "we're so proud of you" texts. Just me, alone in my apartment, staring at an email from a local bakery who needed their busted website fixed before Mother's Day. They couldn't pay much. But it was a start. I said yes before I had time to second-guess myself. I didn't have a degree in computer science, just nights of YouTube tutorials, free courses, and way too many cups of instant coffee. I learned HTML on my phone during bus rides, took online certifications between shifts at the bookstore, and built dummy websites in the library when the Wi-Fi at my place cut out. Most nights I barely slept. Most mornings I asked myself if any of this would ever be worth it. But every time I felt like quitting, I'd picture that bike, the torn seat, the rusted chain, the look on my dad's face like he thought he'd done me a favour. That memory? It wasn't a wound anymore, it was fuel. I fixed the bakery's website, then a dog groomer's, then a yoga instructor's. One client turned into three into 7. Soon, I wasn't just freelancing, I was running something real. I registered an LLC, hired a part-time assistant, opened a business bank account, and finally closed the personal one that still had the emergency $20 my parents gave me 2 birthdays ago, the only gift they thought I'd ever need. My apartment was still cramped. I still ate too many microwave meals. But something was different. For the first time, I wasn't working to prove anything to them. I was working for me. And in that quiet space between effort and exhaustion, I began to heal. Not all at once, but enough to dream again. I still got the occasional text from my mum, usually about Hayley. She's thinking of launching a skincare line. Do you know anyone who can help her with a website? No how are you? No how's school? Just more asks. More proof that to them I was still only valuable if I was useful. So I stopped replying. I wasn't bitter, just busy. And honestly, sometimes silence is the loudest answer you can give. There were no revenge speeches, no dramatic confrontations, just long nights, longer work days, and one very clear goal: build a life so solid, so undeniable, that one day they'd have to stop pretending I didn't exist. I wasn't coming back with fireworks. I was coming back with ownership papers. It was snowing the morning I pulled back into their driveway. Exactly 1 year since the Christmas that changed everything. The same cracked concrete, the same crooked lawn chair by the garage. Only this time, I wasn't arriving on foot. I was behind the wheel of a black Bentley, the one I bought for myself the day I signed my first $1 million cybersecurity contract. I didn't call, didn't text, didn't give them a chance to prepare. Dad opened the door first. He blinked at the car, confused. Is that a rental? I smiled. No, it's mine. Hayley came down the stairs next, still in her silk pajamas, probably another self-care gift. She tilted her head, smirking. Oh, wow! Did you win some contest or something? In a way, I said. Mum walked in with a mixing bowl in hand. She froze when she saw me, like her mind couldn't compute the image in front of her. What are you doing here? She asked, tone sharp, not curious. I stepped inside, took a breath, and reached into my coat pocket. I thought I'd bring a gift this time. I handed Dad a white envelope. He opened it, read the top line, and turned pale. What is this? A deed, I said calmly, to this house. Hayley gasped. Mum dropped the bowl. It shattered across the tile. I bought it 3 weeks ago. The bank accepted my offer before foreclosure went public. I didn't want to say anything until the paperwork was finalised. You bought our house? Mum barked. You think that gives you power over us? I looked her in the eye. No, I know it does. I pulled out a second envelope. These are your 30-day notices. I suggest you read them. Silence. Thick, suffocating silence. You always called me the practical one, I said. Well, I made practical moves. While you were investing in Bali retreats and spa packages, I was investing in myself. Haley's voice cracked. This is insane. You're being vindictive. No, I said. I'm being thorough. And just like that, I walked out, their shocked faces frozen behind me like a painting I didn't need to hang on to. The snow crunched beneath my boots. The engine purred when I turned the key. And as I drove off that morning, I didn't look back. The house was mine, legally, emotionally, symbolically. My parents didn't say goodbye when they left. Haley posted cryptic Instagram stories about being betrayed by blood. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The first night alone, I walked from room to room, touched the walls they used to say were too good for me, opened the tiny closet they once said was all the space I needed. It felt like walking through the skeleton of a war I'd survived. But I didn't feel triumphant. I felt still, like I had finally stepped into the life I was always meant to live, just without needing their permission. A few weeks later, the story of my bicycle to Bentley journey went viral after a local news outlet did a profile. That's when the letter came, handwritten, yellowed at the edges, from my grandmother's estate lawyer. Inside was a copy of her original will. Turns out she'd left everything, savings, stocks, jewellery, to her first grandchild, the one who always visited even when no one else did. Me. But my parents had hidden it, lied, told everyone she'd left nothing. Now all of it was mine, already transferred, already invested, already growing. It wasn't about the money, it was about the truth finally standing in the sunlight. Months later, I stood in front of my company's new HQ, a glass building just blocks from where they once told me I'd never belong. And when a journalist asked what inspired me to start it all, I smiled and said, a rusty bicycle and a family who made me feel like I was never enough. What about you? Have you ever turned someone's rejection into your motivation? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if you're still in that silent attic phase, just know this. You're not invisible. You're just getting ready to rise.